Hi, everyone. This is AJ Schneider from Loyalty 360, welcoming you to another edition of our Leaders in Customer Loyalty Industry Voices podcast. In these episodes, we talk to the leading agencies, technology partners, and consultants in brand loyalty about the technology trends and best practices driving unique experiences, engagement, and ultimately customer loyalty. This episode is part of our 2026 Trend Series, where we're talking about what patterns and best practices we're likely to see in the upcoming year. Today, we're speaking with Nowell Outlaw, Chief Executive Officer at Switchfly, a leading travel, commerce, and loyalty technology platform that helps enterprise brands, from airlines to financial services and HR tech programs, drive engagement, revenue, and customer loyalty by embedding personalized travel experiences into their reward ecosystems. Welcome, Nowell. Thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Hey, thanks for having me here.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, as you know, this is a recording for our 2026 trends discussions
hmm
to kind of get an idea of what we're seeing in the industry and what we're going to be looking at as we go into the new year as far as loyalty programs go.
hmm
And so I wanted to maybe start with a question about challenges that you are seeing today
hmm
that companies are dealing with, that your clients are dealing with, that maybe they weren't 18 to 24 months ago, and what's creating that difficulty.
Sure. I think the biggest, as people joke about my picture on the wall, is it's the elephant in the room, right? So we'll use the elephant in the room, which is, AI is changing a lot of stuff and how people think about things. Um, and 18 to 24 months ago, we were having meetings with people. My background is doing AI and machine learning and complex stuff, and talking to people, and they really hadn't embraced it. They didn't really understand it. And now that's becoming more and more real, right? And there's people are starting to understand what those technologies can do, and how that is going to change their program, right? Especially as it relates to travel.
Gotcha. And in terms of the individual customer themselves,
Mhm.
are there certain behaviors as they relate to travel that
Mhm.
you're seeing from the customer themselves that they want certain things that today that they weren't thinking about a year ago? Um, is it shorter booking windows? Is it things benefits where they can blend business travel and leisure travel, in certain ways.
Yep.
What are the things that customers want that maybe they didn't a year ago?
Uh, if you think about and back to the AI and large language models, there is a lot of people now starting to plan their trips using tools like that, right? There is a disconnect between, okay, I've planned my trip to Aruba, right, using ChatGPT, and now, and maybe I'm staying at this hotel or I'm doing this or I'm going to Mexico. I was just on the phone with a guy in Mexico. They're going to Cancun. I was telling him you should go to Bacalar as well, which is south of there. So now he needs a rental car. Now he needs a different room night. He needs all this stuff where people want to build these itineraries, and then they want to basically be able to say, click, I want that one, right? And a lot of the travel ecosystem isn't organized that way, right? And so you're starting to see that transition, but consumers, it's really in packaging travel together, it is really becoming more of a choose your own adventure, right? And the large language model technology helps the consumer navigate what they want that adventure to be. And what they don't want to do is, now I've got this list of, activities or hotels, and maybe, one day they'll have flights. And now I got to go to other system and try to put that in, and try to make it, try to book it all. There's a breakdown there. Not that the language models are perfect and they don't necessarily have the most up-to-date data, but they are pretty awesome.
So it's interesting when you think about human nature and
Mhm.
just consumerism in general as it's progressed over 100 years.
Mhm.
It strikes me the thing we keep coming back to over and over again at different levels and different plateaus is one-stop shopping.
Mhm.
And to your point, that there's always this tendency for the customer to want to be able to do everything in one spot.
Mhm.
And as soon as we're like, okay, great, we'll put this together. And then then it becomes something else with more detail and different things. That's kind of, I think, what you were describing
Mhm.
is just the evolution of one-stop shopping. Am
Correct.
I onto something there?
Yeah, for sure. So,
Yeah. Interesting. And so part of that, I think also is speed and efficiency and
correct.
and the ability to get more quickly. And
Hmm.
so one of the things the drum that people have been banging for a while is, as it relates to loyalty programs, is the time to value
Hmm.
equation. And as consumers, as are more interested in instant gratification and attention spans get shorter,
Hmm.
that strikes me as becoming more of an issue for brands who are trying to expand their loyalty programs. What are you seeing in that realm?
Um, well, specifically in travel, it's definitely something where the program is wanting to give, right? And it's really, it's give to get, right? So, how can I recommend things that are timely to reward that person while they're on their journey, right? And so, um, we're seeing some of that where programs are specifically understanding that you're on a trip, right? You and I were just talking about going to Whistler, right? So, if you're on your way to Whistler and there happens to be, and I know that you're taking an 8-hour flight to get there, maybe we can offer you a massage at a discount, right? When you're at your hotel, maybe the hotel can offer you things, right, to do that through those programs. I think one of the things that you will start to see, and some programs are doing it, is the merging of the points value ecosystem, so that just because you're a Marriott member and I've got million miles on United, like, but if I don't stay at that hotel chain, like, why am I dropping to the bottom of the rung, right? Like, isn't there an ability for me to say, hey, it's kind of like if you're a gold member on United, now you can get in other places at a certain status. And I think that in travel, you'll start to see more of that, where it's like, look, this person spends a lot of time traveling. Let's not drop them at the end of the queue, right? So,
Gotcha. And are there some specific technological innovations that let's say you guys have developed or that you're seeing in the market that is helping sort of reach out to the customer as while they're on their journey as you described that
correct.
maybe weren't developed enough to be able to use 18 months ago?
For sure, for sure. There's a couple that are out there, which is really, it's during the journey, right? So you're on this trip, you're on a cruise, you're on, wherever it is. And now we know, hey, you're in the Bahamas at Atlantis Resorts, right? So it's the perfect time for me to offer you to swim with the dolphins, right? And you happen to be a loyalty member, and I'll let you redeem for 1,000 points or whatever it is. But those kinds of notifications for helping you make decisions, it's like, well, get up. I mean, I was just in Grand Cayman, and it was like, we were there to do diving. But then you're like, well, what would you do in the afternoon? And then you're sitting there searching and searching and searching, having something recommend things to you, right? And it's just as simple as recommending things that basically is like, hey, did you know you could do this for this amount of points? You could do this for this amount of points, and it's 3.2 miles away from you. Like, those kinds of things help consumers make kind of those instant gratification decisions. And also, doesn't make you play travel agent when you're trying to be on vacation as well. So it's like, hey, did you know you could go swim with the stingrays and I can be there in 35 minutes and it's going to cost me 4,000 points? Sold. Let's go. Right.
Right. I don't know if this is a term that people are using or if I just created it, but sort of like hyper relevance strikes me as
Correct.
being
Yeah.
the
Hyper local, hyper relevant. So, while you're in the process of being on your journey, what other things can we do real time to have a better experience for you?
yeah.
So,
And and I guess that's a segue into the concept of emotional loyalty as well, which
mhm.
has, the concept has garnered a lot of attention over the last few years as well, as a way to really endear and sort of lock in a customer into through the loyalty program by creating that emotional, connection. I would assume that the same sort of thing, you can find ways to appeal emotionally, like what you were describing
Mhm.
has practicality to it. It has convenience to it. No, the idea where you're saying, "Hey, you're already here. Spend X number of points, and we can hook you up with
Mhm.
this experience." Is it usable in the emotional realm as well?
Sure. So we have a so one of the areas of our business is this HR tech. Most people don't know what that is, but you know, in the loyalty ecosystem, right? Most people think about credit card companies and things like that, but there are a lot of companies that give employees points, right? In being loyal to being a good employee, right? And so one of the interesting things is one of our partners has this great product feature, and it's basically reward stories, right? So consumers talking about, hey, and there's a great one that I just saw where a lady saved up her points, right? And then she was able to take this trip of a lifetime, right? Great for the employer, right? The lady's super appreciative. I mean, even it, she's like, I'm so appreciative of working for this company. And this is such a great place to work because these points have enabled me to take this great journey, right? You don't necessarily get that with getting just a gift card. Maybe you can. Um, you don't necessarily get that in redeeming for a blender, right? And we see that consistently. Like if you go through this channel and you look at all these things, it's this, travel specifically has an emotional attachment, right? And, if you think about if you wanted to go when U2 is playing in the Sphere, right? What an incredible opportunity. Being able to associate your brand with that super positive emotional experience is awesome, right? Because you're linking that like, hey, that consumer used their points to have this incredible experience, and we help deliver that. That's just going to help you lock that relationship even tighter.
Yeah. And as you were talking, I was thinking it- there's probably brands that are overcomplicating the thought process on that.
Sure.
Um, and you're right. It's maybe don't try and come up with something, you know, sort of based on some kind of science or something. The reality is that if people have a good experience, that
Correct.
alone will stick in their brain and say, "Oh, I was able to have this because of my relationship with
For
brand
sure.
XYZ." Yeah.
For sure. Yeah. And especially, if you're getting, um, the whole trip or whatever is because of your points, like that's pretty awesome. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, you would definitely stick around with that
Yeah,
company
for
for
sure.
sure.
For
Yeah.
sure. And, the interesting thing about going on a trip, right? And we even joke about this internally is, you go on a trip, you come back, you tell your one, think about, you and I were just talking about you going skiing, right? You didn't talk about what you got for Christmas with me. You talked about, hey, I get to go to Whistler and go skiing, and I'm going in March, and ba. And then when you get back from Whistler and you've had this incredible, like, week of skiing, fresh powder probably everywhere, not like we're having in Colorado. You'll get back and tell your friends, and you'll show the pictures, and you'll do all this stuff, right? There's a whole emotional layer to travel, right? That gets enabled that is not included if I give you points to buy something on XYZ brand. Like, hey, you got some new pants. Cool. You probably aren't, standing telling people that you don't really know. And I just got these pants and they're so, you know what I mean? It just doesn't work that way, right? But
Right.
people with travel, it's a emotional experience that drives connectivity to people. And then, people have conversations with where did you go, right? And what did you learn? And, they bring that back to their work or friends and start talking about it and how they were able to go there.
Well, I just want to put a plug out there. If there's any brands out there that want to build their emotional relationship with me, and want to fund my ski trip to Whistler, just
That's
reach
right.
out anytime.
Yeah,
So,
me too. Like that's, just load me up with points and we'll ready, set, go on that. So,
well, one of the things that I think we would obviously be remiss if we didn't discuss as it relates to 2026 loyalty programs and beyond
mm,
is AI.
mm,
And I wanted to chat with you a little bit about that as well. Are there some specific AI use cases that you're seeing right now
mm,
that weren't, doable a year, 18 months ago,
for sure.
that you're now seeing as being, standard fare? Have we reached that point yet where anything AI is standard fare?
No. I mean, when you think about travel specifically, some of the stuff is, um, you know, like we do, offers and deals and specials and promotions and all that kind of stuff, which is, just data analysis under the hood. But there's also, this, what you are starting to see is people that are starting to do trip planning on these tools in the large language models specifically, which is, you know, AI is how you think about it, right? And there's data science and other things. I think the from a program, right? It's really understanding the context of the consumer, which is hard to do, right? Because of all kinds of different rules. But you know, once I know that you're going to Whistler, right? Think of all the things that I can do, right? To improve that experience, drive more brand loyalty, connect you with the right products, right? Do all these kinds of things. And that's the stuff that I think is starting to mature in the market, it, you know, without it feeling weird to the consumer. I think it's the other part, right? Because there is this fine line with a consumer going, wait a minute, how do you know this, right? And people see that now. They do a Google search, and a lot of times people are like, is it listening to me? Because all of a sudden I'm seeing ads for stuff that I was just happen to be talking about with my kids. Boom, 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 right? It's everywhere. Um, and so, figuring out how to do that the right way is also really hard because you don't want to be just generic, but you don't want to be so hyper personalized that people are like, this is a little eerie, like it knows too much about me, right? So,
Yeah, for sure. And I've definitely had that experience, no doubt.
correct.
So when you're talking to your clients,
Hmm.
about their programs and specifically in this AI arena, what do you feel like are those, I guess, readiness gaps for them to kind of step into, if they're not doing it already, to kind of step into that type of program? Is it a lack of technological understanding or employees that have that expertise? Is it
Yeah.
technology integrations? What are the biggest issues there in terms of bringing AI into the fold?
Um, uh, Truthfully, I think there's a lot of people that don't understand AI, right? Um, the last company I ran, which was in the Bay Area, right? So everyone's dream be a, high profile, venture backed, right? Machine learning AI under the hood, right? Of AI. It takes years and years and years to build AI models, right? There's lots of people now that just because they've been around ChatGPT or Claude or Anthropic for 3 to 6 months, they're now your AI expert, right? And and so I think companies need to, one, if you are a PhD in machine learning mathematics and you are a large language model expert, you're not going to go to work for a loyalty brand, right? Because you can get a job at Facebook, Google, right, Anthropic, things where you can get salaries that will blow your mind, right? And so the hive mind of massively educated, super smart people are working at those tech companies, right? So the trick is then figuring out, okay, what strategies are we going to embrace that that basically stacks up on top of that tech, right? And having that smarts is really where the constraint is because the people who really understand it, they're busy, right? And so you really have to find um, good quality people that can help you make those decisions because it's you know that segment of the market is moving so fast, right? That you could make a decision today, and in 90 days from now, it was either the right decision or it's a bad decision. You got to redo it, right? And we were having a conversation yesterday about, you know, some of the coding assistant tools, right? And even our team internally, a year ago, it was kind of helping, but wasn't really. And now it's massively jumped ahead in the ability to assist a programmer in how it codes, right? And so I think the hardest thing for brands specifically is where do they place their bets, right? In what tech stack specifically, and choose wisely, right? Making the smart decision because it takes time, right? Once you standardize on the approach and the tech you want to use, you know, that's going to take time to roll out. It's going to take time to support. Can you get the right people to help you really do that?
I'm sure there's some stratification
Mhm.
between the size of the company and obviously and the resources that those companies have. But as a general idea,
Mhm.
are you seeing clients and maybe companies that aren't working with you necessarily, are they building their own AI infrastructure or are they harnessing something that already exists and trying to integrate it with their own programs?
Depends on the size of the client, right? So the massive guys, they have their own AI teams. They've had them for a couple of years. They're embracing it wholeheartedly, right? The smaller guys are kind of doing the latter. They're just realizing how to use the tools to help them, right? They don't necessarily have a solid strategy around how to put it in place. Um, so it's all about resources, right? Because stuff's expensive too.
Yeah. Yeah, I imagine you burn up hours very quickly in getting those programs written.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, I used to spend $500,000 a month on AWS expense in just training models, just the training part, not the running, just training. Engineer says go, let the computer run for 4 weeks and come back and see what your results are, right? So it's a
wow.
lot. Yeah, it's a lot.
That is a lot. That is
Yeah,
a lot. Well, let me ask you maybe just a couple of wrap-up questions
sure.
about the future.
Mhm.
Obviously, AI is a big part of that. But from a consumer perspective, and we've touched on some of these things, but what do you think the biggest consumer expectations are going into the future here that will drive the directions of loyalty programs and your clients moving forward?
I think actually, and really I have to hook this to travel as well. I think the biggest areas of improvement, it doesn't matter if it's us, or anyone that does travel, is going to be in the servicing aspects of it. So that, if I need help and I'm on a trip and doing whatever, I'm not calling a call center. Most
Hmm.
people in the planet hate calling a call center, right? And so there's going to be massive shifts in how you engage and support, but also it's not going to be a frustrating experience anymore, right? Because agentic AI and some of this stuff is going to be able to be contextually aware about who you are, where you are, what you're doing, and what you're trying to do. And it's not going to be some script that says, press one to rebook your press two to do this, press three. And if it doesn't understand that, it kind of puts you out into the left field, right? And I think that is going to be, it's probably going to take 3 years, maybe longer, maybe shorter. But those kinds of things are going to change how you interact with a program. And let me tell you, if you're stuck in a program that's still doing it via call center, and it's a frustrating experience, and then you have a really good experience with, oh, and it took care of it, bang, and I was done and I was refunded, whatever, and it took me 65 seconds versus 65 minutes on the phone. Guess what? Like you're going to be loyal to the 65 seconds.
Let me dig into that a little bit. I was just having some conversations with folks specifically about the experience as a consumer, the experience with what we'll call a chat bot,
Hmm?
right?
Correct.
And on the continuum of being basically a glorified sort of spouter of FAQs, all the
Correct.
way to at the other end of the continuum to being something that's really helpful and provides value almost as if a human was doing it.
Correct.
Where are we on that continuum, would you say right now?
We're still in the innovation stage, I think. I mean, we're more than innovation stage because some of the intelligent chatbot kind of technology is definitely there, right? Where you are interacting with a piece of technology and you think it's a human, right? I mean, you interact with some of the even some of the LLMs that are tailored for certain answers and things. People now think they're talking to a human, right? And so I think it will get there. I think it's going to take some time, but eventually, I mean, if you think about, everybody runs a business and they have costs and whatever, the cost of a call center and all those people is super expensive. So if you can reduce your operational costs and get your consumers a better experience, that's a win-win for everybody, right? And so I think that the tech will be more innovative, right? I mean, think about 6 months to a year ago, how many times you went to a meeting that had an AI thing to record and take notes? Not very much, right? Now, every meeting, right? It's boom. Do you want to turn this on? Do you want to do it? And the quality of notes is there, right? It's listening to words and voice and things, and it's intelligently translating it. So if you extend that to the next level, there's no reason why you can't be conversing with a digital service agent, just like we're doing on Zoom, right? Who, because of all of the imagery and works and things like that, could actually come across as a digital human being, right? So it looks like you're talking to someone. It's not actually a person. And they're helping you through your situation, right? I think that's coming faster than we know it. Right. And not only to travel. I mean, I could see it happening to be a nurse practitioner at your hospital, that it's actually a digital nurse that you're interacting just like this with it looks and feels like a person. They're answering your questions.
Right. And I was just thinking using Zoom as an example,
Hmm?
I guess depending on when you start measuring, it really didn't take very long at all to
Correct.
get from, not really having a coherent set of notes, come out of it to like you said,
Now,
having a pretty great summary and
correct.
and wrap up of it. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty amazing.
Yeah. And it's all, if you think about technology, but even in the AI space, it's all about accuracy, right? So an 80% accurate model is useless, like because it's producing errors and errors and errors. And now, all of these models are getting, 95, 96, 97. Now it is hard, right? If you talk to a real AI data scientist, anybody, to take a model that's accurate 96% of the time to get it to 97, right? From 97 to 98, that's where it gets really hard, right? Even the first, the chat GPT models were wrong and didn't, they had some problems, but that's what's happening now. You're getting closer and closer to 100%, right? It takes evolutions of time, but you're not having to build, that base layer. And so all the knowledge now is just getting smarter and smarter. And so now you're able to have really smart language models that really can be contextually aware into, okay, I can train a model for travel. It's already got the base 90% nailed, right? I just have to train it on the gaps to be able to do what I need it to be able to do.
Yeah. No, it's really amazing.
Hmm?
So last question for you.
Sure.
What are you most optimistic about as we go into the new year, as it relates to loyalty programs?
Um, I think besides, the new hair growth formula that we'll need soon, I think that loyalty programs they just get better, right? And I think some of the technology, we've talked a lot about tech, but is getting better to help people make better decisions. The the number of times I hear from people or from customers that say, I've got all these users and I've got these users that carry these massive point balances because they're not finding what they want to spend it on, right? And I think that through the use of data analytics and personalization and some of this AI stuff, that hopefully you can start to give that person what they want so that they get the true redemption, because there are a lot of those people, right? And you're like, this person has 2 million points in their account, they never spend it, why is that, right? And so they're spending a lot and they're doing a lot, but they're not actually engaging back with the loyalty program. And I think a lot of this tech will help uh, kind of re-energize that re-engagement loop with the consumer.
Gotcha. Gotcha. Well, Noel, I really appreciate your time today. It's been
Yeah.
a great conversation, and we certainly look forward to hearing more from Switchfly as we go into 2026. So
All
thank
right.
you.
All right. Great.
I want to thank everyone for tuning in to our Leaders in Customer Loyalty podcast series. If you haven't already, please subscribe to the Leaders in Customer Loyalty podcast and follow Loyalty 360 on YouTube and LinkedIn. The links are provided below. Please join us every Tuesday for another edition of our Industry Voices podcast.